All right. Good morning, Seattle Interactive. Hello. Hi. My name is Brian Marr. I am on the board of advisors for Seattle Interactive. I have been for 3 years. It's kind of almost frightening to stand up here and see this many people here. I remember when these guys, it was just an idea that they had, and a bunch of us got together and started working on that idea, and it's just built and built every single year. And so seeing the community out here is amazing, and seeing it grow each year is unbelievable. And along with that, the caliber of speakers that we've had has also increased. And so they've asked some of us board members to start introducing some of these speakers because of who's starting to show up at this little event, which is becoming a big event. So the next speaker that we have definitely understands the importance of technology in Seattle. It's my absolute pleasure to introduce Mayor Mike McGinn.
It's really great to be here. Just hustled my way down from Greenwood and ready to go. And I still need that morning cup of coffee, but I'm going to give you my best 10 minutes I can give you to kick off this conference. First of all, I've had this incredible honor the last 4 years of serving as mayor of the city. And one of the things as a mayor is you get to interact with every community across the city. You get to talk with everybody about what the city's about. And more than anything, I'm in the middle of a campaign, and I won't give you campaign talk, but more than anything, you have this discussion about the future of Seattle, right? Because that's ultimately what campaigns are always about, is about the future. And I had a very interesting experience talking about the future. A year or so ago was the 50th anniversary of the Seattle World's Fair. And the theme of the World's Fair was City of the Future. That was the theme 50 years ago, and that's when they put up the Space Needle, and if there's anything that's iconic of, futuristic imagery, it's the Space Needle. And I was being introduced by John Keister of Almost Live fame. Some of you may remember him. And he was great. He was saying, God, I remember the World's Fair, and there was going to be, flying cars and jetpacks and monorails everywhere, and what happened? We got a mayor that wants us to ride a bike. What happened, he said. And everybody laughed, and I laughed, and I thought it was really good. And I immediately thought of Yogi Berra when he said, the future ain't what it used to be. Because it's hard to predict the future. It really is hard to predict the future. And all of us are kind of in that future predicting business. But there were things they didn't quite get, right? And one great example was the idea that the solution to so many of our problems would be the application of more energy to them, right? Well, I mean, literally, we're going to put rocket fuel on our back to get around. And it turns out that what we needed to do was to conserve energy. So the future is now a lot about energy efficiency and solar energy and windmills and building walkable communities that connect each other. That's the future. And we think about the future too. It isn't so much, you can think about cities that are succeeding and cities that are failing. You can look at Detroit. Detroit once made the best products in the world. Everybody wanted them. Right? If you were a kid, what did you want to do when you turned 16? You wanted to get a driver's license, you want to get a car, and we celebrated automobile culture. Those were the highest tech things you could have, the most gleaming, beautiful things you could have. And something changed, obviously. Now 18 to 34-year-olds drive 23% less, and it's not about a 16-year-old getting their driver's license. It's usually about, a 13-year-old, starting to text. And I know, because I've had 3. And you think about that, it's actually a changing nature of connectivity is what happened there. Because when you got that car at 16, I remember as a kid wanting my driver's license. I remember plaintively saying to my parents, how will I ever go out on a date if I don't have a car, right? Because that was how you could connect to other people. It was how you'd connect with your friends. You'd literally go out driving to connect with them, as a way to see where they were. And now you connect through a different way. And so I mentioned the phone is a different way to connect. But we also see another huge demographic trend, which people want to connect by living in a place. And that's, I think, one of the Seattle's greatest assets is they want to connect because they live in a place where they can walk around or use transit. So we're working on getting more transit. We have a transit master plan. We'd love to connect more of our neighborhoods by rail. You connect on the internet, and we have an internet infrastructure that is woefully deficient for the needs. We have 2 incumbents. the cable company and the telephone company, and they built a system that was designed to carry, cable, TV, and phone. It wasn't, and now you're trying to squeeze through it all of the internet as well. What if we had a network in which you built data and TV and phone rode on that, internet infrastructure? So we're working to do that. Google's doing it for Kansas City. They're building a fiber optic to the home network. We're partnering with Gigabit Squared to lease our dark fiber, unused city-owned fiber, as a backbone for them to get to the premise in 14 neighborhoods. And you see companies are out there working to hook up apartment buildings to fiber optic cable. That's a different type of connectivity. But there's also, I'm just going to keep going on this theme of connectivity. There's also a connectivity between individuals that occurs. When you build a walkable place, with bike lanes, that's connectivity too. That's connected by transit, that has great fiber optic cable, that has coffee shops, arts and cultural institutions, nightlife. Now people just start connecting with each other in the course of everyday life. They're connecting. They're not insulated in their vehicle or insulated in their home far from others, right? And even yes, I know the apartments are getting smaller, but the city becomes your living room, right? And the coffee shop is your living room, and you don't have a home theater. You've got concerts at the Mural at Seattle Center, right? And those are the ways in which we all begin to connect with each other. And I'm going to add one more connectivity. We draw people from all around the world in the city of Seattle. We draw people who are drawn here by the promise of what they can achieve in a place because we have an educational institution or other smart people they want to deal with or companies they want to be engaged with. We have people who are drawn here because where they're growing up, they feel discrimination. Maybe they're gay and this is a city where they can be fully accepted, right? They're coming here because they're fleeing oppression or hardship from somewhere else, and here lies opportunity. So something like a mobile food truck is a way for them to connect with a business opportunity. We think about mobile food trucks for the vitality on the street and getting something different to eat, but for an immigrant entrepreneur, that's a low-cost way to start a business, a lot cheaper than brick and mortar, less risk, and they'll grow into brick and mortar. Many of them do, ultimately. So that's another piece of connectivity. We start connecting all of these different cultures to each other. And you start thinking about this, like the smartest ideas, the best ideas, sometimes they happen in the center of a discipline where everybody's really focused on it. But oftentimes they happen on the serendipitous connections between things. So going back to cars, right? Cars were something that were built, they're beautiful, you owned a car, and it probably spent 95% of its time sitting in place. Now, through the technology of things like Car2Go, now that car might spend 95% of its time moving around and 5% sitting in place, and that's only possible because of the information. And that's an idea. Oh, and also the fact that we make parking rates so that there's a space available once in a while also helps Car2Go, because you want to find the space when you get to the other end. And that's going to take data for us as well to try to figure out how do you set prices right. So this application of data and ideas, you get serendipitous ideas. You see it in music all the time, right? I mean, you keep talking about remixes, but isn't a lot of technology just a remix? Hell, isn't life itself a remix when you think about it? We won't go there. But it is. It is. It's this cross-fertilization of ideas. And you get this thing where if you can increase connectivity in a city, all the different types of connectivity, things start bouncing off each other a lot faster. New ideas emerge. We're one of the leaders in patentable ideas in the nation. And you have to have an openness to new ideas to do that. You have to have an openness to different people. You want to be in a place where you're exposed to different cultures, different ideas, different art and the rest. So I'm going to circle back because I'm sure I've used up almost all of my 10 minutes. I'm going to circle back to where I started. It's really easy to make fun of the World's Fair 50 years ago for their futuristic ideas that didn't quite pan out, right? It's really easy to do that. And again, it is really, really hard to predict the future. And some of you in this room, and me too, we're going to make some predictions. We have to do this because this is where the future is going. And we're going to be wrong. And we will be wrong. I mean, it's just guaranteed. Some of us, most of us will be wrong at least about parts of it. But we do know this, that they had one thing fundamentally right 50 years ago. They said they were going to be a city of the future through technology, through innovation, through arts and culture. Seattle Center is the home of many of our arts and cultural institutions. And they did that 50 years ago because they wanted to be known on the world stage. And 50 years ago, people really didn't know where Seattle was. They really didn't know where it was. It was just this little city in the rain-soaked corner of the continent, and they had to, when they put together the maps to advertise it, they had to say the other Washington. Like they had to point to Washington, D.C. and Seattle, Washington, so people would find it. So think about it. 50 years later, I took a trip to China. We're taking green building experts to China. We were known. People knew everything about Seattle. They know us for our entrepreneurial companies. They know us for our software. You know, they know us for the Space Needle. It is iconic. But we are known all around the world for being innovative on technology and business. But we are also becoming known for being very green, right? We're going to be leaders on the environment. You know, not just energy efficiency, but stopping coal trains, divesting from fossil fuel companies, you know, having the greenest, we got the Bullitt Center, Bullitt Foundation building, which is one of the greenest buildings in the world. You know, we're getting known for that. And we're also going to be known for our social innovation. You know, that this is a place that everybody, no matter where you're from, no matter what your background, you can achieve here because you can connect in. You can contribute to those ideas. You can connect in those ideas. You can share in those ideas. So they got that right, 50 years ago. And that reputation, this is why I love being mayor, that reputation wasn't built, it wasn't built in 4 years. That was built over 50 years. And that was a reputation that was built by the people of Seattle. You know, the people in this room, the people that came before you built that reputation. So it's one of the reasons I've loved being mayor, because it's really great to be mayor when you have so many innovative and creative and you know, socially minded people as we have in Seattle. So thank you all for coming out.